Well, for Sonic Frontiers supposedly being the next revolutionary title for the series, just like Sonic Adventure, it certainly hasn't left behind a trend that's been noticeable in previous titles: nostalgia, pandering. Of course, it isn't always a bad thing, because you know with Sonic Mania and Generations are among my favorite games to play, but the fact is, I was hoping this game would stand all on its own, and yet I'm not so sure it's going to achieve that goal now. One of the previous leaks for Sonic Frontiers referred to Cyberspace Levels, which would have a design similar to those seen in Sonic Generations. I took this to mean that these stages would work mechanically the same as the ones in Generations do. Not that they would be, you know, ripping the stages directly from Sonic Generations and putting them into Sonic Frontiers, and yet that's looking to be the case. I honestly don't know how to feel about this. I like Sonic Generations, so obviously I'll love playing the stages from it, but at the same time, like many of you, I was hoping to see something completely new. In case you need proof, we have this piece of footage right here from the Frontiers demo that was showcased at the Summer Game Fest. Contains a couple of clips of gameplay for the Frontiers Sky Sanctuary cyberspace level. If you're still skeptical as to whether or not this is Sky Sanctuary, look at this floor panel right here, and then go back and play Sky Sanctuary in Sonic Generations, particularly the modern layout, and you will definitely catch a pattern here. That's the exact same floor pattern used in Sonic Generations. There also appears to be a sky-based backdrop all around Sonic. Pretty sure that's characteristic of Sky Sanctuary too, and there are archways similar to those seen mostly in the classic layout, but you catch glimpses of those playing as modern Sonic too. There have also been confirmed sightings of a Green Hill cyberspace level, and supposedly, Chemical Plant is known to be a part of the stage list too. Now this video's going up, I can already hear it. Some of you are like gonna go all, oh my god, Green Hill Zone is so overused, stop, please. And if this holds up, which I think it will, I can't say I blame you. Now, this statement started getting thrown around after Sonic Generations, which came out in 2011. Green Hill Zone was featured there, but like, that's an anniversary title, so of course you were going to see Green Hill Zone there. And then it showed up again 6 years later in both Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces, in various different iterations. If people started saying it around the time both those games released, then I can sort of see where they're coming from. But if they were saying it before Mania and Forces released, then that's where I'm going to be confused. But we're getting Green Hill Zone again this year, twice in a row. Once in Sonic Origins, which is understandable because it's a collection of re-releases, so that doesn't really count for anything. And then Sonic Frontiers, which will have a cyberspace level in the image of Green Hill Zone. I'm equally excited and disappointed. Excited because I do love Sonic Generations, and disappointed because I was hoping to see Sonic Team run away with their creativity and inspire brand new level designs. I really miss when they did that. But no, looks like we're going back through time again. All that's missing is the Time Eater. Actually, I better not have jinxed it. I don't want to fight the Time Eater again. It's such a confusing boss design. At least until you play it on 3DS. Well, yeah, you can probably tell I'm very mixed about this. But before you go all you're just complaining about them reusing assets when they've done this like plenty of times before, yes, I know that. I pointed that out myself in my video I made where I talked about how I was worried about Sonic Frontiers, and if you're wondering, I'm not as worried about it now, though this revelation does bring back some concerns for me. But yeah, I know it's common to see assets being reused in between Sonic games. This has happened since Sonic 1, and we've already seen examples of this with parts of the open world gameplay, which have definitely borrowed from previous titles, even if mostly reworking them to better suit the mechanics of Frontiers. It's not something that's uncommon to see. But I was hoping that the reuse of assets would not extend to blatantly bringing back stages from previous Sonic titles, and yet that looks to be the case. At the very least, it looks like Sonic Team will be overhauling the stage designs for each of the Generations levels, including Sky Sanctuary. Like for example, in this clip right here. You see this triple rail sequence? I don't recall this being a thing in Sonic Generations. I also don't recall seeing this downward slope, or these structures by Sonic's weaving in between, but I do remember seeing these same structures from probably a 2D perspective. I think that's what's going on here. Sonic Team has been adamant recently about keeping 2D and 3D separate from one another. It does look like we'll be playing these stages completely in 3D, but in a linear design similar to what was seen in Generations, which would explain the similarities in their mechanics. But at least there won't be any 2D this time. So for those of you that got tired of seeing them mix the two together like that, rejoice. I'm also curious about the state of the music. You don't hear any of it in any of the Frontiers clips provided at Summer Game Fest, so I have to wonder, will they recycle the Generations soundtrack, will they remix it, or will they come up with brand new music? I hope it's at least the second or the third option, because these stages need to stand out from their Generations counterparts in some way, right? For those of you a bit late to the party, you might be wondering, why exactly are we calling these stages Cyberspace Levels? Well, for one, that's the description they were given in the leaks, and secondly, judging by how the game's story is shaping up, it would fall in line with the theory I have in mind, and if this holds up, it would justify the reuse of the Generations levels. It's been shared so far that Sonic, Tails, and Amy fall through a wormhole generated by the energy of the Master Emerald, and I'm guessing this is going to be shown off in the prologue animation that we'll be getting before the game itself actually releases. After falling through the wormhole, Sonic finds himself at the Starfall Islands, the primary setting for Sonic Frontiers. But Tails and Amy are nowhere to be found, and worse yet, Sonic appears to be suffering from amnesia. He doesn't remember who he is, who his friends are, or any of the events that happened prior to Sonic Frontiers. And part of his quest involves getting his memory back. One way of going about this appears to be collecting the memory tokens that will be found among the collectibles at the island. I'm guessing these are collected by defeating some of the boss enemies in the game or something, and on doing so, you'll be able to rescue Sonic's friends. The demo of Summer Game Fest contained a scene where Sonic saved Amy from her virtual prison, but nothing about Tails. And I can only assume that more Sonic friends will be involved also, because if it's just Tails and Amy, that would be a little bit strange and would kind of leave Sonic a little bit short on the list of friends to rescue. But also, in getting his memory back, he has to go through locations that are familiar to him. And that's where the bite-sized linear levels mentioned by IGN come in. As was said in their hands-on impression, the order of the game goes like this: play through open world, collect portal gears, win boss battles, unlock linear 3D classic Sonic levels, the keyword here being classic, and I'll get back to this in a little bit, and then collect the Chaos Emerald found in each of these levels. I guess the use of the word classic does line up with recent circumstances, because for all intents and purposes, the stages seen in Sonic Generations are considered classic because they do come from previous parts of Sonic's history, especially the first 3 stages, which are taken from the Genesis classics. You might remember there are 7 Chaos Emeralds in total. That would mean if we're getting 1 stage for each emerald, they would have to cut out 2 of the 9 stages seen in the HD version of Generations. It has 9 stages in total: Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, Speed Highway, City Escape, Seaside Hill, Crisis City, Rooftop Run, and finally Planet Wisp. Additionally, there's also the 3DS version of Sonic Generations, which for the most part use a completely different stage list. The only stage both lists have in common is Green Hill Zone, the rest are completely different. For 3DS Generations, you have Casino Night, Mushroom Hill, Emerald Coast, Radical Highway, Water Palace, and finally Tropical Resort. If they are in fact using one Generations level for each Chaos Emerald, there are multiple ways they can go about this. They can simply use the first 7 stages from Generations HD while cutting out the last 2, which would be Planet Wisp and Rooftop Run. Or they can cut out any of the stages in the middle of the order while using the rest of them, or they can swap out some of the Generations HD stages for some of the Generations 3DS stages, like for example swapping out Speed Highway for Emerald Coast, or City Escape for Radical Highway, or to use another example, swap out Crisis City for Water Palace. I'll admit I'm being slightly hopeful when I say this, because the idea of Emerald Coast from 3DS Generations being fully upscaled and brought over into a current generation title like Sonic Frontiers on PS5 and both Xbox Series consoles at that, I can only imagine how beautiful such a stage would look. In fact, we can call this an upside. This could be an opportunity for them to make the Generation stages look that much prettier. Granted, they already look gorgeous in the original game, but is it possible for these to look even better with updated hardware? Gonna have to find that out soon, won't we? Something else to keep in mind is that development for Sonic Generations was split between 2 different teams. Sonic Team handled Generations HD, whereas Dimps, who handled the Sonic Advance and Sonic 4 series, were given the task of handling the 3DS version of Sonic Generations. Sega does own both because they did publish both, so I'm pretty sure that means they'd still have access to the assets used to build the 3DS version of Generations. And yes, I know, we're talking about a handheld console here, and those are typically a step down from more traditional consoles when it comes to visuals. However, I think the 3DS was a gigantic leap forward in bridging the gap between the handheld consoles and the more traditional consoles as far as graphics go. And now we have a Nintendo Switch, which is a hybrid console. It can be used both as a handheld and as a home console. So I think we're a lot closer to fully bridging that gap than you might think, and it probably wouldn't take them as much effort as you fear it would for them to fully upscale the 3DS levels and bring them into Sonic Frontiers. But this is just me being hopeful, like I said earlier. I might be way off the mark here. Bottom line, if Sonic needs to get his memory back, then a crucial step towards doing so will be by revisiting locations that he's familiar with. If this is the angle that Sonic Team is going with, then I can understand and even welcome the reuse of Generations levels. Otherwise, I was hoping they'd stop looking back at Sonic's history so much while moving on ahead with their next game, because though nostalgia does have shock value, it starts to run out if relied on a little bit too much. You know, you gotta let it sit once in a while to let it get its value back. It's like when you play too much of one game, then you need to break from it and you need to indulge in something else, so that by the time you come back to the game you've played before, your interest in it is fully refreshed. Does that make sense? Now all that's left is for Sega to give us a direct feed of a Generation Cyberspace Levels, which they haven't done yet. And we're a little bit past the halfway point of June, so they have like 2 weeks left to do exactly that, unless they're planning on saving that reveal for later on in the year. Though it wouldn't make any sense to do this because they have eyes everywhere. Certainly they must know that there is demo footage of Frontiers out and about now. Like, there was security all around the demo booth, but Sega had to have anticipated the possibility that somebody would sneak out recordings of the game. I can't imagine them not considering this. So I think we're going to get another reveal shortly, but for now they somewhat slowed down on it. They did give us more gameplay footage that didn't show off too much in the way of new things, but it was a more refreshing showcase than what we got in the first week of June. And we got more interviews with members of Sonic Team, including Morio Kishimoto, who is directing the project. It may not be that much longer, we'll have to wait until we learn more about the Generation Cyberspace Levels. So guys, what do you think? Are you happy or not so happy that we're seeing the Generation Levels again as part of Sonic Frontiers? Whatever your thoughts may be, I'd like to know about them, so let me know in the comments down below. This is just the start of us dissecting the leaks that came up at Summer Game Fest, though these may not be considered leaks for much longer because Sega will probably come clean on these real soon. Anyway, if you enjoyed what you saw, I'd appreciate it if you left those likes and comments and consider subbing and ringing that bell to stay up to date on what's happening so far. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all next time. Until then, peace out, Blue Blurs for life, take care.